Welcome to the Success Resequencing Project. I'm Debbie Ponticus.
And I'm Jen Newman.
Join us as we challenge the traditional definitions of success so you can build a fulfilling path of your own.
Get ready for inspired, candid conversations while gaining tools, inspiration, and confidence to create your own authentic success story.
I'm sure many of us have heard the beautiful song by Andra Day, Rise Up. But after listening to our next guest story, you will see that that song is a personal anthem for her. Desirae Outcalt grew up in a broken family, surrounded by abuse and drugs, and with no real direction or understanding of how to succeed in life. However, at a young age, Desirae found the courage to rise up and defeat the odds. And today, she is a successful business banker at Bell Bank, a community activist, and one of Arizona's most influential women. Desirae's path to success has certainly been a challenging one, and we are honored to have her with us today to share her story of initiative and survival. Well, welcome. Thank you, Des. We're so excited to have you on our podcast here today.
We've been looking forward to this so much. So thank you for taking the time to be here.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Yay.
You and I have known each other for, I was trying to count this morning, it's 6, 7, 8 years. So, and I have known you for the majority of that time, just from our networking groups together, your business, all of that. But over the past few years, I've started to get to know you, the person, more. And you truly do have, I think, one of the most inspiring stories of success, if you will. And let me, for the listeners that we have that don't know you, I just want to give a very high level of kind of your history. So you grew up to a single drug-addicted mom. You didn't know your father until really recently. You found out about him through the 23andMe. You witnessed your mom being abused as a little girl so much that you had to move out at a young age. And you do have a brother. And unfortunately, you were forced to leave him behind because really for you and your brother and your family, every day for you was about survival.
Yes.
So you started volunteering at a very young age, around 12 years old. You were in the Big Brother, Big Sister program. And your big sister, Sean, really motivated you or gave you that light of what someone can do to help when someone's in need.
Yes.
So that kind of sparked that for you at a very young age. Now, fast forward, you are an extremely successful business banker. I would say, above that, although business banking is what you do on a daily basis, I think you are an extremely successful connector, networker, and just all-around activist in the community. You are passionate about helping others because of the past you've had, and you know how much that can truly help someone. And I think one of the things that is really neat is that you were recently recognized as in Arizona as a community activist and trailblazer and named as one of Arizona's most influential women by Arizona Business Magazine. So congratulations on all of that.
Thank you.
And I think that what we want to focus on today is really that journey that you had and how you've become who you are today. So tell us a little bit. I know. Jen and I are like, this is me.
Yes.
I know, right? You truly throughout your history, I think, have shown initiative. So let's take that and give us some insight back to, maybe you can go back to when you were a little girl and that time that you said, I've got to change this for myself.
Yeah.
What can you tell us about that girl and what was going on and how you knew you needed to do something different for yourself?
Yeah. So the journey, obviously not the easiest. And so as a child, in order to fully understand what was happening to me in my life, I actually went to many, many different types of churches. And when I say that, so fundamentalist Christian, Lutheran, Catholic, Jehovah's Witness, I tried many religions throughout my childhood to kind of help me figure out, why am I going through this as a child? Like I already felt like I was wise beyond my years as a child, thinking what I need to figure this out. Like, why is my life this way? And I just remember, even as a little girl, being put in certain situations, sitting there observing and looking around my surroundings, thinking, I'm not supposed to be here. This is not who I am. This is not where I want to be. And so since I was a little girl, I knew that I wanted out of that lifestyle. Now, don't get me wrong. I would never change my childhood. It's made me who I am today. But it was that constant initiative. And then also, I do not like being told what to do.
I can relate.
I can relate to that.
Yeah. And I was consistently told that I was going to end up like my mother, on drugs and pregnant with children. And no offense, Mom, but no, that was not my journey. I already knew that that's not what I wanted. Yeah. And so just exploring outside of because my mom didn't go with me to church. My brother didn't go with me to church. It was my initiative to go and find people to go be with, to figure out, what life is about.
I'm curious, what gave you that? Did you identify that as a very, very small child? Was there any religious overtones in your life that had kind of given you the thought to explore that more? Or did you know friends, or were there other people that you watched going to church?
There were other people, like other friends that I watched. And so, if Saturday night sleepover, oh, we get to go to church tomorrow. Yay. And then, experiencing the like family and the love and the community of it all was super intriguing to me, as well as learning about what others believe.
Yes.
And ironically, I took a little from each religion, and actually like to read all about religion and ask people like if they're a different religion that I'd really like to find a Scientologist and ask them some questions. I don't know if they can tell me. I don't want to die.
But you're on a mission. You're
I'm on a mission. I kind of want to,
Totally. So when you explored all those different religions, was there one that resonated with you most? Or did you feel that it was, or did you find through the exploration of all those different faiths that there was an overarching theme that you were able to draw upon?
Oh, I'm going to get some hate for this answer.
No, this should be an open audience.
I actually found the overarching theme is that all organized religion is hypocritical. So while I'm very spiritual, I believe in a higher power. I believe that is God. I just don't believe in organized religion. So it was almost like another disappointment.
Sure.
And that's why I kept on like moving from religion to religion, was because there was a disappointment there that was almost similar to what I was being let down at home as well as now in the church.
When you're looking for that sense of leadership, you're looking for that sense of protection. And when you go through those experiences, I always say that I'm a recovering fundamentalist, that there is that sense of, it is very disappointing, as they would say, to see how the sausage is made.
Yes. Well, and I think, interestingly enough, I was just at church yesterday and the sermon was about actions speak louder than words. And I think that what you're talking about possibly is that many people, and this can be in religion, this can be in life, this can be in business. Many people think that if you just look the part, that you are now saved, or you are now part of, or should be a part of whatever organization that you're in. And so there's part of leadership that can be confusing in that. And then there's the people that you're surrounding. So if you were going as a little girl to try and find a community that would support you, that would give you this love, sometimes when you join these things, you realize that everyone else is there possibly also searching for that. Yeah, so they don't have it in them to give, because they're all there wanting to receive.
Yes.
So it's a very difficult thing in business and religion. I think as an adult, I have had an aha moment in just what I listened to yesterday to say, oh my gosh, I think so many of us think by just showing up, that's enough.
Yeah.
And it's not.
It's not.
And that's as a parent. You can't just show up and say, I'm a parent, and think that that's enough.
I think that's true. I also find it fascinating that, hurt people, right? And so a lot of times we find that in any sort of community, depending on who's leading that community, that can still be perpetuated throughout any sort of organized religion.
Yeah.
And I know from my own experience, it was watching that play out. You realize actually we're all human and we're all going through a human experience, but we're together trying to connect with something that is bigger than ourselves.
Right.
And when we have leadership sometimes in those roles within that very religious setting, we also forget sometimes that we're all human, including the leaders. And so that it can be very mixed messages. It can create mixed messages, especially for kids. So I love that you knew that about yourself. You were definitely exploring. Did you find, though, through that process that it actually strengthened your inner voice and your inner spirit to trust your intuition as the real compass in your life versus the outside messages that you were getting from other people?
Very much so. It also made me realize that hurt people. And it, through the process of it all, actually made me more compassionate in dealing with others because they potentially have it worse off than me. And so I need to have that, hold that space for them and be compassionate for them in their moment, while even seeking for my own. And that gave me some, that actually gave me what I would actually consider more confidence in dealing with humans, and, just building connections fairly quickly when I meet people at first.
Absolutely. And a great sense of empathy.
Yeah. So
for
where
sure.
do you feel like you first experienced, maybe you haven't, but that you actually found a place that was reciprocating what you were needing, that you didn't feel like that they were giving you what you needed? Was that back when you were a child, or did you have to get more into your adult age too?
It was probably more my adult age. I moved out at the age of 15 after confronting my mom's boyfriend at the time, who was getting ready to beat the crap out of her. And I stepped in the middle and I said, "You lay a hand on her, you're going to die. Like, I will kill you." It was super, I was probably the angriest I think I've ever felt in my entire life. And I'm thinking, and this man was 6'5" and like 400 pounds. Like, and I'm, at the time shorter than I am now. I was 5'8", which is still pretty tall.
It's very tall.
It is tall.
And like 110 pounds, like, what am I doing? And that's when I realized I needed to leave the space. And that's when I went and moved in with my aunt. But it still didn't feel like I had that strength that I needed, or that community that I needed. And it probably wasn't until I moved out on my own with my now husband. We've been together for, it'll be 35 years in February.
Oh my gosh.
Congratulations.
Yeah, and not married, because that's weird. But anywho. And so, he's probably been the consistent like strength and community that I have found with that unconditional love and those things that. So it was, unfortunately, it was when I was adult.
Have you created, though? Don't you find, though, that through that experience, you also then were able to create that kind of environment in your adult life?
Yes.
Right. So there's an ability through the empathy, through the compassion, and then also knowing that when we can't find what we need, it's ours to create.
Yes.
And clearly, as we transition into throughout this conversation into the ways that you've given back, it's clear that you've created those spaces so that people don't have to wait until adulthood to feel those things.
Correct. Yes.
Right. And that's a really key, that's a key point as well.
And I think really when you hear your story and know that for you as a young child, you learned very quickly to tap into your survival instinct, where a lot of people don't have the courage to do that.
Yeah.
I think that's what saved you from,
Agreed.
a different ending, right? So as you pull that through into your adult life and career and choices that you've made, what about that instinct do you think has helped you as a professional?
Well, so what are the key phrases that they're doing? Trauma bonding, stuff like that. So it made me very much an observer. So I observe, and I'm able to really sense the feeling in the room.
Yes.
So I know how to proceed. What's funny is that I'm one of the few probably business people that you'll ever meet that if I have to give you bad news, I would really prefer to do it in person. I do not want to do it via a text, an email, a phone call. I want to be in person because I want to feel your vibe. I want to look at your facial expressions. So I think that experiencing what I did as a child in survival mode, constantly around, aware of my surroundings, how other people are feeling. So I'm on high alert for what your energy is. So if you're coming to me and you are sad, I'm gonna be like, what's wrong? Some people don't like it when I call them out that quickly, but others appreciate that I'm giving them a moment to be in that space.
Yeah.
And I think that that's actually bode me well in regards to negotiations for any type of business dealing.
Oh, for sure.
It's a spidey sense, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's something that you learn once you understand that you have that and you can honor it. That is definitely a moment to be able to honor the past, because you're right. The past absolutely gave you that gift, because it is an absolute intrinsic gift to be able to sense a room in that way and to intuit what other people are thinking and feeling. Yeah. It's a superpower. It comes on the heels of sometimes immense pain and trauma, but it is a superpower, and to be able to use it for good is gold.
Yeah. It's so interesting to me because, our whole mission, our podcast, our business is called the Success Resequencing Project. And when we talked to you and I was like, I think Des would be amazing on this. You truly do have that. You are exactly what we hope we can put in front of our audience to say, look at what you can do with your life. It doesn't have to follow a specific path. No. And in fact, the more you force that, the more you will not feel fulfilled in life.
No. Correct.
You've had a lot of pivots in your life.
Yeah.
From a little child to now. Going forward, I think with Brad, who, has been by your side in all of this, was there a time that the two of you had to pivot together and say, okay, this is how we're going to make it through. This is how we're going to both be successful, because he's also a successful businessman as well. So you have two very strong personalities, and I don't know Brad's history as much as I know yours, but very similar. Okay, well that makes sense. So you've two kindred spirits in a sense, searching for some kind of connection, some kind of environment that you can thrive, which you both have done. So talk to us a little bit about that. Talk to us about your relationship with Brad and how that may have been a life pivot, if you will, for both of you.
So I'm going to go back to when I moved in with him at the ripe old age of 18, going, what the hell am I doing? Like, what are we doing in this, on this, big rock traveling through space?
Right.
Very philosophical at an early age.
Yes.
And, I knew that I wanted to be with him and, hoping he wanted to be with me. And probably our very first pivotal moment is after 3 months of living together. I'm like, hey, we need to sit down and have a chat. And he's like, oh, crap.
Every man loves that part of the relationship. We need to talk.
Yeah. And I had basically said, I don't want to have kids. And he was like, oh, hallelujah. Because it was stressful for me, because I'm like, if he wanted them, I probably would have accommodated, but I didn't really want them. Yeah. And it's not that I don't love kids. Again, everything I do are for children's charities and whatnot. I just knew deep down that was not my path in life. And he was okay with that. Yeah. And then from there, every time we've made a big decision, because we both are hesitant. So when he had the opportunity to move to Arizona, he was like, do you want to do this? Like, we're moving away from our family. Like, there was no internet. Well, okay, I take it back. Google was invented in 1998. We moved here in July of 98.
Fair. Okay.
Yes. There was no researching.
So we just knew that Arizona was hot. We thought it had tarantulas. Yeah. Haven't seen one in the wild since I've lived here, and I've been here since 98. So anywho, and so that was a pivotal moment where we both made the decision, we're going to move to Arizona. And both of us never regret ever making that decision. But it was a hard one. It was like, is this the right decision? We're moving away from our family because our entire family lives in the Pacific Northwest and we're moving away from them. Is this okay to do? It's scary, but we did it and we are super happy about it. Now, jobs have been lost or we've decided to pivot and do something different. we again have those conversations and we discuss it. Are you okay if I make this move? Are you okay if I change this organization? Because again, yes, it's my career, but he's my partner. And I think that a lot of people don't collaborate in that way. And, you know, we're together currently trying to pivot through some stuff that are it's a little challenging. And so we're having those conversations and making sure that we're both on the same page. And if our mind has changed, or if we think, oh, well, wait a minute, did we think about this? You know, what is the communication that we're having in order to make sure that we're in it together, we're going to win it together, or have failures. You never know.
Yeah, of course.
You never know. And so how are we moving forward together as a team?
Yeah. Well, and it's so interesting because I think your ability, and I'm sure Brad is the same way, to understand that you have to rise up through challenges. You have to put your voice first, listen to your inner voice. I mean, that's a big decision to make at a very young age, to say, I don't want kids. And to have found someone who agrees with that, you know,
that's not the norm.
Yeah. And I love it. I mean, you even have Dinks as your license plate. Like, it's great. You know, so, you know, what was it about, if you don't mind me asking, what made you come to that conclusion at such a young age?
So it's going to sound maybe a little weird. And this is probably, I have like a list. We always talk about, oh, you know, reason 255 not to have children. My number one is that I do not know how any parent loses a child. Yeah. I don't know how many, but that's my number one. Yeah. I don't think I'd be able to survive that, because I don't think anybody would be able to. I don't know how people survive that when it happens. I have the utmost sympathy, or empathy, I should say, because I've never experienced it. But in reality, my life, I felt, was crappy at the time when I was younger. Now I just realized the world just basically, humans suck. Let's be clear. Yeah. I love people, but I do not know how I would have dealt with raising a child in the current world that we live in. You know, could you guys imagine, like, you know, having a child that, like, I have a lot of friends who have teenagers, and their kids are on social media. And I'm like, how do you navigate that? Like, I didn't have to deal with that. Like, you know, we were out, you know, playing on the streets till the sun went down. And, you know, had a footloose and fancy free, like, kind of childhood in a sense. And I just didn't think that I could navigate the world that was ever changing, along with, you know, because I feel like I'd be the most strict parent. I would be super strict. And I'm like, I don't know if my kid would like that. Like, I've watched my friends who had super strict parents and they rebelled. And I'm like, just again, to that point of constantly paying attention to my surroundings and observing other families. And, like, I just didn't think that I would be able to do it. It's a hard job. I don't know how any parent did COVID. I'm not going to lie. Like, you all are amazing. I don't care how much you beat up on yourselves. That, to me, would have been the hardest thing to ever go through with children. And I just knew that it wasn't for me.
Well, I mean, I think that again goes back to, you've had a ability, like Jen said, maybe it's that spidey sense that you are truly in tune with what you're supposed to be doing. And
I still don't know what I want to do when I grow up.
That's totally fair.
No one does. No,
I know.
Does.
I think we're still figuring it out.
Sorry.
Yeah.
No, I love that. But you are, I think, a rare person that can listen to that voice when something's starting to speak up and stand up for yourself and be confident in that decision, from your childhood to your decisions that you're making with Brad, to decisions that you've made in your professional career. I've known you, again, for 7-8 years, and I know you had some difficult decisions to make on that front as well, and some huge pivots that you've made in your career. So, you know, it's one of those things that I would love to get a little bit, like, let me into the inner workings of your brain here. And
it's scary in there, ma'am.
You know, and just tell us about how you feel like you can really tune into that. Like what is it that you think, if you could teach me and Jen, right? Like, okay, this is when I think I know I have to listen to myself and stand up for myself and be my own voice. And sometimes that's a hard decision to make, but it allows you to kind of move on to that next pivot in life. So
I feel like there's almost two questions there. So I'm gonna address one first, and that's when you are upset with something in your life or whatnot. That's the time that you need to speak up. What's causing you to be upset? Because you are in control of your own emotions. So what is the outward thing that's coming at you that is making you uncomfortable, uneasy, frustrated, whatever the case may be, and then tackle it. So one of mine is when I start to get really, really frustrated, I look back and I think, okay, who's being disrespected? Am I watching someone be disrespected, or is it me being disrespected? Because that's a trigger for me based on my childhood, because there was nobody there to speak up for me. And so that's how I learned to have my own voice, but then I also express it for others. So when you're feeling that is when you need to speak up. And because while your feelings are valid, you also need to deal with the situation head on so that we are no longer in that spot, or you need to just be happy with the situation, whatever that may be, and actually be okay with it. This is just going to continue to happen, and I'm no longer going to allow it to affect me in a negative way.
Right.
So that's part number one. So part number two is going to sound more crazy.
I love it.
We're bring it.
We are cray is what we are.
So what I like to do is I like to listen to what the universe is placing in front of me consistently. So have you ever said, like thought in your head, which we've all experienced this, just to be clear, thought in your head, maybe not said out loud. Oh, I really want to learn more about, a shake weight. I don't know what. that's just what came to head.
Sure.
To my mind.
Okay.
Yes.
Shake weight.
I have just this morning, I said, I want to learn more about shake weight.
I love that fact. I have a vibration plate, so we're going to go ahead and put.
Too.
Thank you. Okay. So it's just the 2020 version.
Right. Correct.
The shake weight.
Correct.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah. So all of a sudden it starts showing up on your social media feed, or you go by a store and you're like, why is that here in this store? I thought this was an on TV commercial info, or it's an infomercial item. And it's just constantly being placed in front of you.
Yep.
Though that is the universe telling you that this might be of something of benefit to you and your journey. So, because I went from running the entire back end of a bank to being in sales. Usually your back office people are very introverted. We already know I'm not. I'm actually an ambivert. I'm introverted and extroverted. Because, we got to have that downtime.
Absolutely. Amen. I'm very much
Recharge.
And so I always want to like my boss is like, or even like when I was in the back office, all the salespeople are like, you should really be in sales. You should really be in sales. My favorite, and you guys are going to love this. Do you know almost my entire adult life, since I've been in banking, so since 2000, do you know everybody thinks I'm a realtor?
Really? Okay.
I love it. Okay, well, you can come with us.
Yes. Yeah. You'd be amazing. Yep.
The very first thing people think I am. So I do explore that on occasion because I do love real estate. I love looking at houses. Yeah. I even commercial real, you name it.
Yep.
I know a lot about the Valley and like houses, and it's weird. And so I look at those cues that the universe is giving me in order to decide where I should take my next step.
Love that.
Now, not everybody has that awareness.
Right.
So you just need to start looking for repeating things.
Yeah.
Why are certain people being put in front of you consistently? And if you've noticed, it's maybe people that, or it's God trying to teach you a lesson, or the universe, or whatever you believe in.
Yep.
It's trying to teach you something, and it's trying to show you the journey that you need to go on.
Yeah.
And so I'm consistently looking for those signs.
Yeah. I love that.
I think you said a very key point, that not everyone has the awareness.
No.
However, it is in every single one of us.
Yes. 100%.
And it is about learning how to tune in. And you're right. To start with that repeating piece is clue number one.
Yep.
And it is amazing how much that can open someone's mind to then realizing it's a floodgate once that starts.
It's a huge floodgate because people don't realize, they're like, oh, I just bought a brand new car and I very rarely see them on the road, and now I see them everywhere. But that's because you've opened your mind to the possibility of.
That's right.
And everybody has that in them, and people are either afraid of it, they don't want to lean into it, they say it sounds crazy or weird, whatever the case may be, but that truly will help you get to where you want to be quicker.
Yeah. Exactly. It does.
Yeah. And I think that there's two sides to that. Right. And I think that you have presented this in a very positive way, where you see things and you're open to new ideas and opportunities that can help improve your life and fast forward your life and advance your life. I think where people get stuck is when they constantly do the negative and they're constantly focusing on the negative and, oh, I can't do that. Or they only see things a certain way and don't think they can do that. Right. So I think everyone, like you said, it's in everyone.
It's in everyone.
You're going to start paying attention to the things that, you've got to. So if you are, what I'm trying to say is, if you are not seeing the positive, it's a mind shift change. And you have to start ignoring and pushing away the things that are not taking you and advancing you further. If you're in a rut in your business life, in your personal life, and you don't know how to get out, find the one positive thing that
which is usually a
on.
Positive person, because if you have a lot of negative people in your life, you now know that you need to start weeding those people out,
right?
Because they're going to bring you down, and it's also who you surround yourself with.
Absolutely.
And so I always make an effort to hang around people who are positive, lift me up. I can lift them up. Not to say that we're not like, it's all, sunshine and rainbows the entire time. Everybody's got stuff, but we can look at it in a way that we can, if it's a bad thing, I got an a fender bender the other day, and you know what, it just wasn't that bad, so it's okay. Yeah, it's a minor inconvenience. Yeah, I have to deal with some things, but it's going to be okay because nobody was hurt.
Yeah.
And that's how we need to look at things, like, oh my God, I got in a car accident. It's such a crappy day. I spilled my coffee on myself. I did this. No, we're going to focus on that nobody died.
That's right. Right. Because what you focus on, you find.
Yes.
And so whether you say you can or you can't, you will.
Yeah,
It really comes down to that. I think we are more attuned as a society to focus on the woe is me, the negative victim mentality. This happened to me. This didn't happen for me. These are subtle shifts that are imperative to change the course of your life. But there's something really beautiful when you can start to see the difference between the two. That's the magic moment when you realize, wow, okay, if it's to be, it's up to me. So what is that going to look like? Which way am I going to go?
And you're in control of your thoughts.
Absolutely.
So I'm reading a book now called Don't believe everything you think. It's good. It's really good. And it tells about, now I'm only like 4 chapters into this, but it tells about your brain will have a thought, but it's the thinking you do about that thought. That causes you to either go into a hole, go into a rut, go down a bad path, or the opposite. Be positive, be this. Like, you can think car wreck, right? Like just using your thing. But it's the thinking now you're doing about that thought. They're like, oh, then this, and then this, and then whoa. Back it up. Stop having the negative thoughts and actually just control your destiny, control your choices, control your path, and don't let a thought take over and ruin the day, ruin the moment, because it can also go the other way. You want to start thinking positive things, and happy things. It's great.
Yes. And I also think too that there's a misnomer out there that if you are in control of your thoughts, that means only good things will happen to you. That's where some people get stuck, right? Life is going to happen. The human condition, the human experience, we're going to have the ups and the downs. But it's what we make of those situations that is key, right? Because we can't control what happens to us, but we can control how we respond. And I think in a world where we're, that positive affirmations, I think sometimes people think, well, if I do that enough, then the bad things won't come my way. It's like, no, that's not true. Stuff happens.
And then it goes back to what we were talking at the beginning of the podcast, which is actions speak louder than words. Actions speak louder than thoughts. So you can have a thought of, oh, I'm going to be this. But if you don't do anything about it, And this is kind of where I think your story.
Although I'm trying to get with the lotto right now.
Yeah.
Me too.
Lottery.
I always just envision like I can do so many things with it. Like clearly, wouldn't that be lovely for it to? Yes. I'm here for it.
Sorry.
No. Believe me, we've all had that thought. Believe me, we all go down that rabbit hole where we let those thoughts go. I'd have a private jet. I would like this, all the fun stuff.
I know.
So, in kind of summarizing, we have a few questions we want to ask you.
Okay.
So if you could go back to little Des at 12 years old, what would you tell her today?
That life is not that bad. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is your growing moment.
Yeah.
Embrace it.
Yeah. And you'll survive.
What a season.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Genuine.
How do you, at this day and age, at this moment in your life, how do you define success?
So to me, success are just the little wins. You know, like I'm started fasting, intermittent fasting, and I haven't eaten yet. Yay.
Well, you have done great, girlfriend. Like, let me tell you, I would be passed out. I'd be hangry.
But it's to me, success is always personal. So what I'm fascinated by is other people are like, oh, you know, she has all the bags and, you know, she has all the jewelry and, you know, she has the designer clothes and the designer shoes and she has this big, beautiful house. And that's my family speaking, by the way. To me, because I don't have all that. Yeah. I'm comfortable. No, I'm kidding. But what success is it's personal. It's not what other people see. Like you might not know the demons that I have. And a lot of people don't know the demons that people have.
That's right.
And so whatever successes I have to me are very personal and they are always not on the outward, you know, yes, I'm a successful banker, but to me, that's not success. That's just me doing something that I love.
Yeah.
And so it's, you know, it's the little wins for me.
I love that.
I love that.
I love that.
And they build on each other too, which is super, super cool. I love that.
And I think that a theme that you're going to see with our guests on this podcast is that as you have the wisdom of life, which doesn't mean that's an age, because I think, like you said, you were very wise as a young girl. No, like wisdom comes, you know, it doesn't come with chronologically. No, it comes with your experiences and experience. Is that, my brain just, my friends, is menopause.
I was going to say, this is what we're dealing in our perimenopauzal lives.
Yes,
is that
we are.
I have
you had a brilliant thought,
I did,
and now it's there.
Gone.
It's going to come to you.
It was going to be epic. It really was going to be epic.
I felt like it was going to be.
Y'all were on pins and needles on the edge of your seat, and I was like,
we're here to hold space to say, then that just wasn't meant to be in this moment.
Wasn't meant to be.
Okay,
so
we were on a path of wisdom.
We are.
And that it's,
we're just going to move on.
And we're going to move on. Okay, it's gone.
Just so you know, it was great. I just want to share that moment.
That was an amazing
It was epic.
Yes.
Okay, so we all know that leaders are readers.
Yes.
So do you have a book that is a favorite book or something that?
I do have a favorite book. I wouldn't per se call it a leadership book. What I found most profound about this book was the moment that there were many other people that experienced life worse than me. And it is Ian Levinzant's Yesterday I Cried. Actually, the poem in the very beginning of the book is absolutely beautiful. But, you know, look at where she is today and actually knowing her history and where she came from, you know, she's also been through it. And I read that book the first time I was in my early 20s.
I can't wait.
Did you feel in that moment, was that a moment where you read it and said, I feel seen?
Yes. No question.
Yeah. It's powerful, isn't it?
Yeah.
To think that we can connect with people in that way.
Yes.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful.
Have you read the book?
I have not read that book of hers.
Yeah.
She is a powerhouse, but there does come with that this beautiful vulnerability because she has been through it. And even in recent years, she went through it publicly.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I honor that about her, that she has never quit and that she's always continued to add massive value to other people.
Yes.
Regardless of what the topic is, she's the first one to get right down in the trenches, which is really amazing.
Okay, I'm excited to read that. I will add it to my list for sure.
Yeah.
Thank you, Des. Thank you for sharing your story. You're such an inspiring and a beautiful person, and I'm honored to know you. And we just want to say thank you for showing us that you can rise up, that you can succeed, and it doesn't matter what your path puts in front of you. As long as you kind of listen to yourself and use your voice, you can feel successful and fulfilled, and have so much more to give, because that's what you do. Is you are a giver and you give back to everyone around you. So thank you.
Thank you. You're so sweet.
Des, how can our listeners connect with you? Do you connect on social media? Do you have, where can they find you?
I have all the social medias.
You have all? We love that.
Wait, except I don't have Threads. That's the new
I
one.
can't.
Right?
I don't either. No, I was like, that's too many.
I know.
But I have Snapchat, I have Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter. I'm sorry, X.
Whatever.
Yeah.
We'll link to all of it.
Where is there one that if someone wanted to, who is inspired by your story and maybe wanted to just reach out and say thank you for sharing your story because it gave me some encouragement, which one of those could they reach out?
Instagram.
Okay.
Desirae.O.
Perfect.
Desirae.O. Perfect. And we'll link in the show notes to all of it.
All of it.
Yeah. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. This is a pleasure.
Thanks for joining us. If you loved this episode and know of someone who would find value in it, please spread the word and share it with a friend. We are passionate about redefining success, and it would mean the world if you could help us get our mission out to as many people as possible. Please take a moment to write a 5-star review on Apple or Spotify. You can also hit the subscribe button to stay up to date with our latest episodes. Connect with us on Instagram at Success Resequencing Project or via our website at www.successresequencing.com. We'd love to hear your story.